It's all about the deal at Brunswick Auto Mart. Save big this month with deals like this. Don't miss the Make This the Summer event and lease a 2022 Ram 1500 Bighorn Quad Cab Night Edition 4x4 with 20-inch blackout wheels for just $375 a month. Or lease a 2022 Ram 1500 Laramie Crew Cab for just $397 a month. Brunswick Auto Mart. Car buying made truly simple.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Believeland Prep Podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Slez. With me, as always, my co-host, Joe Yule. How you doing, Joe?
Good, Kevin. Good. I'm excited. It was a great week to be a football coach this week. Huge win for our boys.
You had a good game, which you'll be talking about here in a little bit. We were actually able to cover 3 games this past week, and hopefully 4 this week. So we're making a lot of progress in that area. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, for sure.
But as you said, we had more good games that we're going to recap here, starting off with Youngstown matchup between Ursuline and Chaney. Ursuline takes this one 30-27, handing Chaney their first loss of the season. Ursuline moves to 5-1. It was really a back-and-forth game until the fourth quarter. Ursuline running back Christian Lynch scored his 4th touchdown of the game with 4:22 left, putting them up 30-20. Then the ensuing kickoff by Chaney was returned 70 yards for a touchdown by Bryson Douglas. It's actually their second kickoff return for a touchdown of the game.
Wow.
But that Ursuline running game was able to eat up the clock and put it away. The final score 30-27. Chaney had a couple key turnovers that hurt him. Interception to open the second half that led to an Ursuline score. But Ursuline running back Christian Lynch, as I mentioned, had 4 touchdowns, and he had 37 carries, 244 yards. On the season, he has 1,147 yards, so he's having a pretty nice season.
Yeah, no, most definitely. That was a huge game. I mean, Division III Region 9 this week was going head to head with each other. We had 3 matchups, between Aurora and Tallmadge, University School and Gilmour Academy, and then that Chaney Ursuline. And there could have been more, but that's a big playoff shifter there. That's going to affect how computer points go with a lot of things. So. But another huge game that I got to go watch live, and we had Brady Hamilton reporting at, was Mogadore hosting the Warren JFK Eagles, and the medicine of madness for JFK trying to get out is, they really didn't lose this game in a way. JFK receives the opening kickoff or their first drive. And they get about 3 or 4 plays into their drive after a couple touchdowns, and they fumble, triple option. And Mason Williams, number 87, scoop and score for a touchdown. Right there, you're down 7-0. And Mason Williams, I mean, the kid's a player. It's been a while since I've seen a big guy like him move the way he does. So I'm excited to see. How Mogadore season goes the rest of the year. Hopefully something good happens for me along that road. But no, it was a great game, in all honesty. After you get past that, Mogadore's defense really never shut down JFK's offense in a way. There were really good drives that JFK was able to put together. Quarterback number 11, the kid could sling it. JFK's quarterback was a heck of a player, had a heck of an arm. JFK falls to 5-1 on the season. Mogadore takes a 6-0 undefeated record. Next week, JFK is going to have a Portage Trail Conference matchup against Woodstown. So that's going to be in Warren. And then University School travels to Mogadore again. And I will be at the game coaching. I'm excited for that.
Definitely, that should be a good one for sure. Well, speaking of good ones, we had a really good one out in Aurora where the Green Men took on Tallmadge. Aurora took this one 31-30, improving to 5-1 and dropping Tallmadge to 4-2. This was a game that Tallmadge led 27-20 at the half. Aurora took a 21-20 lead on a Matt Geyer 11-yard pass from Jace Unverfurth. And then with just under 30 seconds left, Ty Hurst, the quarterback from Tallmadge, who we had on for an interview last week, made a couple passes, ended up throwing a 35-yard touchdown to end the half to Colin Dixon. The teams combined for 28 points in the final 4 minutes of the first half. So it was a fast and furious end of the first half there. But Tallmadge held Aurora to a turnover on downs in the red zone to start the second half. We're able to get a 35-yard field goal, looked to be in control at 30-21. But Aurora's defense stepped up, stopped Tallmadge. They were able to get a touchdown, and with 3 minutes left, their kicker, Dom Trevisano, had a 21-yard field goal to put them up 31-30. Then their defense held on for the win, and 31-30. So Tallmadge quarterback Ty Hurst had a nice game, 18 of 25, 310 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, and also had 54 yards rushing. And wide receiver Colin Dixon had 8 catches, 198 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And he also recovered a fumble on defense, so a hell of a game there. But Aurora ends up taking it, moving to 5-1 on the season.
Yeah, the next game was really a true upset in a way. We had South Range at Girard, knocks undefeated Girard team off, who from what I've heard is a very good Girard team. But this South Range team is, they're not ranked number 1 in Division 5 for no reason. They're a really good team. They're a really good team. University lost to them, so I had to coach against them, and it was difficult. But the Girard Indians, their quarterback, number 8, Bengala, had 12 completions on 18 attempts for 195 yards. So he had a pretty good day, and Girard's rushing game could really never get going. They only combined for about 110 yards on the day between 4 different running backs. And it was actually their quarterback who had 14 carries for 67 yards was their biggest run threat. So Girard's quarterback is very special, but South Range's defense is also solid. You see a South Range team that puts up 56 points, and they hold Girard to 12, who was a 5-0 team.
So we head out to Portage County, where I was at in Ravenna. Matchup between Field and the Ravenna Ravens, and Field ended up taking this one 35-23 as they get back to 500 at 3-3 and dropping Ravenna to 2-4. This was another kind of back and forth game in the first half. Field led 21-16. Ravenna had some momentum going offensively on their first possession of the second half, looking to go down and take the lead, but they fumbled. It was recovered by Field's L.J. Riley. Field took advantage as quarterback Braxton Baumberger scored on a 12-yard quarterback keeper, putting them up 28-16. But Ravenna came right back. Give them credit. They had a 7-play, 65-yard drive, capped off by an Austin Marshall 14-yard touchdown run, brought them within 5. Ravenna forced a punt, had a chance to take control of the game again, and Austin Marshall fumbled. Braxton Baumberger, he was all over the place. He recovered the fumble, returned it all the way to the 2-yard line. After a couple penalties on Field, he was able to find Tanner Rowe for a 21-yard gain down to the 1-yard line. And that's where their big workhorse running back, Drexel McAmis, plunged in for a 1-yard touchdown, which gave you the final margin, 35-23. Drexel McAmis had 22 carries, 118 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Baumberger throwing the ball was 3 of 9, 57 yards, but he did have 82 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. And in a losing effort, Mikal Williams was 12 of 23, 209 yards, a touchdown and a pick. And their do-it-all, Pavel Henderson, 28 yards rushing and a touchdown, 61 yards receiving and a touchdown, and 1 for 1 for 30 yards passing. So he was kind of all over the place.
Yeah, most definitely. And then, reiterating how big this week was in Region 9. Gilmour Academy facing off against University. Gilmour Academy being ranked, I believe, number 6 in the state for the division. They were a state ranked team, and University School has their homecoming against Gilmour. The Battle of Somme. It kind of started going around the school and everything. Both schools very close to each other, obviously, and University walks away with the win, advancing to 5-1, 28-20 against Gilmour, who now sits at 5-1. What it really was for University was the run game. They put their nose down. Ryan Pattison, last week's player of the week, another 3 touchdown performance from him. And George Manello, getting back in action this week, and he rushes for a touchdown as well. And then a couple rushes from Brian Kellen and Jackson-Milton too. Jackson-Milton, the quarterback, completed 4 of his passes for about a total of 19 yards. Longest pass being 7 yards. Really wasn't the it seemed like University School really didn't have to too much. They got the running game going and they just kept rocking. And then Gilmour Academy, I mean, they're a heck of a team, and the Kavik, brothers, are great. Quarterback number 3, one of the twins, had a phenomenal day throwing the ball and just extending the play. I mean, he's a very special player. And then his running back, his brother, actually caught a touchdown pass from him on a wheel route, and then they both compared for a touchdown as well on the ground, each of them. It was a great game. It was a great environment. Brady Hamilton was there for that game as well, and he did a phenomenal job at the game. So make sure you guys go check out Brady's article on that. But University travels to Mogadore this week, as I talked about with Mogadore. Going to be a very hostile environment. Great game to be at, I think, and we're excited to see the results of it. And then Gilmour Academy will play Cleveland Central Catholic this upcoming week, and they're playing at Cleveland Central Catholic.
All right, so like you mentioned, a lot of big games, some playoff shifting games, and now we head into the home stretch here with 4 weeks to go. It's only going to get crazier.
Yeah, no, most definitely. I'm excited for this back half of the season. We're really, we talked about it a little bit at the beginning, but now you really see who's legit and who's not. Yep. Teams normally have had to play somebody who's somewhat decent on their schedule. So, you really kind of find out what type of team that they are. And, I'll kick it off with Menor at Medina that Joey Schneider is going to be covering on Friday. We've interviewed Medina's quarterback, Danny Stoddard, and the kid is just an absolute beast. And we talked to Wadsworth's head coach about how you prepare for a guy like him after preparing for a Girard the past 2 seasons. He says, you can game plan for him, but you can't have your team fully prepared for a guy like Danny Stoddard, I don't think. And I think it's going to be a lot for Menor to deal with, but Menor's had a chip on their shoulder all year. They played a very, very, very tough schedule. Honestly, one of the toughest schedules, I think, in Northeast Ohio. They lose a triple overtime loss to St. Ignatius week 2. And then they lose a tough game against Football North from Ontario, who has a Division I prospect at wide receiver for them. They lost that game by 20 points. So, I think Menor's got a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. They come into their come off a win at Brunswick last week. So, they kind of get almost the same environment in a way, with Brunswick and Medina being so similar. And people from both those towns, I'm sorry for saying that, but I think Medina is going to come out, and Danny Stoddard's just going to sling it, man. I mean, the kid's really good and has a lot of really talented receivers around him. Very
true. Very true. All right. So looking at my first big game I have, we got St. Vincent St. Mary at 4-1 traveling out to Ursuline. We talked about a little bit. They're 5-1. You look at St. Vincent St. Mary. They open up the season with a loss to Coach Ginn at Glenville Tarblooders. So they're a perennial powerhouse every year. But then they came back with 4 straight wins over Barberton, Akron Bookdale, Sandusky, and Warren Harding. Their running back, Santino Harper, rushed for 460 yards and 8 touchdowns on the season. Defensively, they got some standouts. Bryson Getz has 33 tackles, 6 for a loss. Nick Gage, 27 tackles, 3 for a loss, a sack, and an interception. But these last 4 games, they've outscored their opponents 138 to 39. So a pretty big differential there. You look at Ursuline, like I said, they're 5-1. They have wins over Brookfield, Padua, Farrell out of Pennsylvania, Warren Harding, and they lost to Austintown Fitch, who's 5-1 on the season. And the Farrell team, they beat. That was their first loss of the season. But looking at them, we mentioned Christian Lynch, 1,161 yards, 15 touchdowns on the season. Their quarterback, Jack Erickson, 74 for 108, 908 yards and 7 touchdowns. And their standout wide receiver, DC Farrell, has 27 catches, 415 yards and 4 touchdowns. And defensively, their big dog is Tyrek Dunlow. Got 50 tackles, 16 for a loss, and 7 sacks on the season. So he's definitely a beast on the defensive side. So that should definitely be a good matchup.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Excited for that game. I'm excited for my own game this week, and I think it's another highly touted game that there may be reporters that we don't know yet. Mogadore hosting University School, obviously, Division III going to a Division VI school. But it's Mogadore. Regardless, it's going to be a physical, hard-fought game that you have to keep going in because they're not going to stop ever. They don't. It's what they, it's what Mogadore breathes. It's what they live. It's what they believe, and it's why they're so dang good at it. But it's also why University is good at it too. University is a really good football team this year. It's a really good football team, and I think they've proved that. I think we've proved that throughout the whole entire season. I mean, you got the opportunity to talk to our head coach, and I thought that was a really cool interview. And how he described everything.
He's a great guy.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's taught me a lot, and he's also taught me the fact that you can go into Mogadore and win, and it's happened before, and it can very well happen on Friday night. But I think it's going to be a heck of a game. I think Mason Williams is going to be the focal point of Mogadore like he always is. He plays running back, tight end, slot, linebacker, D-end, D-tackle. I mean, the guy's just everywhere on the field, but he can do it all. He's huge. He's fast. I mean, it's crazy watching him play. And, so we're excited for this matchup. And I think, for Mogadore, it's going to be how do you stop Ryan Pattison? The guy, he's coming off three touchdown games in a row. That's a pretty good. That's 6 touchdowns in 2 games. Some people don't get to 6 touchdowns in a season. It's special to see that for sure.
Definitely. So looking at a big matchup of 5-1 teams with Mineral Ridge going to Jackson-Milton. Mineral Ridge on the season had wins over Pymatuning Valley, Orange, Newton Falls, McDonald, and Western Reserve, and they lost to Springfield 20-12 for their only loss. They're a running attack, big time running attack. Not a lot of passing from them, but running back Ian Herb, almost 900 yards and 13 touchdowns. Their quarterback Tristan Valley has rushed for almost 600 yards and 9 touchdowns, along with 700 yards passing and 4 touchdowns. They're averaging 35.7 points a game, 40.4 points in their wins. So it'll be a tough test for that Jackson-Milton defense. And Jackson-Milton, you got the opposite. They're a huge passing team, pass first for sure. Their wins over Latonia, Newton Falls, LeBray, Western Reserve, and McKinley. And their only loss was to undefeated Louisville, who's another perennial powerhouse. But their quarterback,
too.
Yeah, definitely. Their quarterback, Alex Schiavi, has put up some big numbers. On the season, he's 102 out of 143, 1,266 yards, 20 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He's got a 126 QBR, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
As we mentioned, they're a big passing team. Their leading rusher is Keegan White with only 171 yards. They're 2 standout wide receivers. So you can see the differential there.
Medina right now.
But there are 2 standout wide receivers, Aiden Stanky, 27 catches, 426 yards, and 7 touchdowns. And Caden Mitchell has 26 receptions for 231 yards and 4 touchdowns. So it's run versus pass in this one.
Yeah, it should be an interesting game. I wish we could be there for it. How could you end with anything else than the Holy War? I mean, it's the matchup. I'll let Kevin talk about it just a little bit, like what it's about being in Cleveland and everything, and seeing the Holy War, and then I'll go off of it too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it is the game, in my opinion, the game in the state of Ohio. There's no doubt about it. I mean, two historic teams.
Special.
Yeah. And you look at Coach Chuck Howell in his 40th season, he's going to want to win this last one for sure.
Yeah, maybe we'll get a little insight on him and everything.
We're
gonna have an interview for you guys with him tomorrow.
Yeah.
On Wednesday. Excited for that. Excited to kind of just pick his brain and see how kind of how well we did with Coach Lombardo over at St. Ed. God, I mean, I don't know how to describe. I mean, you got a very talented St. Ed's team and a very talented St. Ignatius team, but it's Coach Kyle's last year. Like it's his last year. Like it's crazy to say that from the historic run that he's had. I mean, I'm so excited for this because St. Ignatius is they will run the ball. Their running back is really talented, but so is their quarterback Josh Poshpish. I mean, he had a phenomenal game against Mentor, and he's had a phenomenal season up to this point as well. And Ignatius going into this game 4-1, hosting the Eagles, but Ignatius only being 4-1 because of their week 1 matchup against Springfield being canceled, and then St. Ed's coming into the game 5-1. Their only loss being 2 weeks ago to Massillon, Washington, in a very, very close, questionable game, I guess. And there's not much more that you can say than just get out there and go to it. If you're listening right now, and you're thinking about it, or you don't have anything going on or whatever, it's worth it. Go to it. I'm gonna be there. Somehow I'm gonna be watching it on a TV. I'm gonna be at the place listening to it. I don't know, but I'm gonna be involved with the Holy War some way somehow, because it's a phenomenal environment. There's nothing like it in Northeast Ohio, in my opinion. Like you said, Kevin, there's nothing like it in Ohio.
Right.
It's 2 blue chip programs. It doesn't get better than them squaring off because they're competitive every single year. I'm excited for Coach Lombardo to bring his Eagles out there and see what they can do. And I'm also excited to see, the fight that the St. Ignatius Wildcats play with for Coach Kyle's last Holy War.
Yeah, and to show my age a little bit, Coach Kyle started coaching Ignatius when I was 7 years old. So that's crazy. So do the math there. You can figure it out. So I'm going to wrap it up with Perry at 5-1 going to Kirtland, who's 6-0 on the season. They're always in the mix for a state title. So, and it looks like they're going to be again this year. But looking at Perry, they have wins over Kenston, Madison, Chagrin Falls, Lakeside, and Edgewood, and their only loss was to a tough Riverside team week 1. No season stats, I couldn't find any, but looking at their last games, quarterback Walter Moses for Perry, 13 of 20, 398 yards and 4 touchdowns. Pretty nice game there. Running back Jaden Studio, 162 yards and 3 touchdowns, and then wide receiver Jaden Hacking, 4 catches, 125 yards and 3 touchdowns. So looking at Coach Laverty's Kirtland, they had wins over Harvey, Lutheran West, Beechwood, West Geauga, and Geneva, along with Chagrin Falls. Rocco Alfieri had 356 yards and 10 touchdowns on the season for him. Their other standout running back, Tommy Gogolin, has 418 yards and 4 touchdowns. And Jake Laverty, 446 passing yards and 6 touchdowns on the season. So that should be a pretty good matchup. And probably Kirtland's, well, I don't know, maybe their toughest test of the season.
Oh, Kirtland?
Yeah. I know Harvey's a pretty good team as well.
Yeah, no, most definitely. Harvey's solid.
Yeah, I got to see them
year in and year out. I mean, they're a solid team and everything. I think that Lutheran West team is pretty solid too. I mean, they're sitting 5-1 right now, blowing out a lot of other schools. Haven't had a really, a crazy good opponent like Kirtland yet. They're gonna, we'll see how Lutheran West does against Cuyahoga Heights and Harvey in the following games. But yeah, I mean, I think this is a huge test for Kirtland. I think this is also a huge test for this Perry team. Long time West Geauga coach goes to Perry in the mid 2000s, and he goes to, I think late 90s actually. Matt Rosati leaves from West G, goes to Perry. Matt Rosati actually comes back to West Geauga this year. This is his first year back, so the Perry gets to play West G that year. So I think it's a test for this Perry team though, because they're under new staff. And so I think playing a team like Kirtland, it's going to be really interesting to see how they do, because Perry's only loss right now is to a 5-1 Riverside team who's very talented also. So we'll see how this game fares out. I'm excited for it.
Definitely. Yeah, some good recaps and previews. And it's going to be another exciting week. And like we said, we've got an interview with Ignatius coach Chuck Kyle tomorrow night. So watch for that. We're really excited about that. And, ramping up our coverages. So a lot of good things going on.
we will have we'll have Birdie Hamilton hopefully at the Perry Kirtland game. I believe Joey Schneider will be at the Manor Medina game. Kev, you're going to Field, right?
Field in Streetsboro.
Yeah, Field in Streetsboro, and then hopefully we can get somebody at the Holy War.
Yep. Yeah, exciting stuff.
Most definitely. Couldn't be better. And we're we're happy to announce that we'll keep on doing business with Brunswick Auto Mart, Medina Auto Mall, and Daystar Ford going into the wintertime.
Yeah, very cool. Very exciting. All right. So once again, look forward to our interview tomorrow night with Chuck Kyle. And, thank you to our sponsors that Joey mentioned, Brunswick Auto Mart, Medina Auto Mall, and Daystar Ford in Garrettsville. So that's it for this week, and we will talk to you next week for week 7.